Hey, what's up guys? In this video we're going to be going over my top 10 tips for editing real estate videos. And again, we'll be covering these tips in a Q&A format based on questions I've received about this topic. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Tip number 1 is video length. How long should the video be? Now this depends on the size of the home and how much needs to be featured, but I've found that most of the real estate videos that I do end up being around 2 to 3 minutes. You don't want it to drag on too long or else the viewer is going to be skipping through the video trying to find the parts of the house they care about most. But if the video is too short, you may not have covered all of the features of the house. So it's just a balancing act, but I found that 2 to 3 minutes usually seems to be the right amount of time. Tip number 2 is similar but more specific. How long should each clip be, and should I show multiple angles of the same room? Again, this depends on what the clip is about. For example, a shot of a kitchen is probably more important than a clip of the half bathroom, so I'd personally show the kitchen clip longer than the half bath, or show 2 different angles of the kitchen. Most bedrooms don't need multiple angles. It's usually just the larger main rooms that require more angles or more time on each clip. But the exact length of each clip is also going to depend on the music choice and how fast-paced it is. But to give you a guideline, I'd say that each clip should be about 2 to 6 seconds long. Any shorter than that, and it might not give the viewer enough time to soak in each shot, and any longer than that, and they might start to get bored of that shot. And speaking of depending on music, our next tip is where can I find good real estate music? Sometimes I'll find some good songs on premiumbeat.com or soundstripe.com by searching for corporate or cinematic genres, but my favorite songs I've used for real estate are by the Way May, and I've actually included 10 watermarked songs that I've personally used for real estate videos to help you save time from having to search for your own music. And you can download these songs and try them out in your edits, and if you find one that you like, just email Brendan at the email address that I'll provide, and he'll let you know the licensing fee and provide a non-watermarked version for you to use. As far as editing to music, I cover that in the next video showing my full editing workflow. Our next tip number 4 is storytelling. What order should I put the clips in? Every video should tell a story, and the story that a real estate video is telling is, what would it be like to live in this home? So I like to think, if I were touring the home, what order would I see everything in? I'd probably start seeing the front of the house, walk in the front door, see the first main room, then probably head to the kitchen area, and then probably the master bedroom after that, and then head upstairs, then downstairs, then to the backyard, and then maybe walk back through the main floor on my way back out to the front yard again. Now there's no one way to tour a home, so obviously you have some flexibility there, but keeping that tour structure in mind is going to help you from randomly skipping around, confusing and disorienting the viewer. Tip number 5 is, should I use on-screen text or a voiceover? Now when I first started real estate, I thought on-screen text would be better and easier than a voiceover, but the client didn't end up really liking it, and it took a lot longer for us to do than a voiceover. So I started hiring my buddy Dallin to script and perform my voiceovers for me, and I found that to be a better, easier system that the client actually liked more. I see people trying to do the on-screen text, but in my opinion, it usually feels less professional, especially if you're using generic fonts that aren't easily readable. And I found that it usually distracts the viewer from being able to focus on the home because they're busy reading the on-screen text. So my opinion is to do voiceovers instead of on-screen text, and you can go about doing a voiceover in a few different ways. I personally hired Dallin Wright, and I'll provide contact info for him if you'd like him to write and do voiceovers for you. Or you can write the script yourself and just hire out the voice part by contacting Dallin or going to sites like voices123.com, where you send them a script, you get a few different samples from different voices, and then you pick one and then pay them. Usually costs around $100 per recording. Or you could personally write and voice over everything by yourself. And this leads me to the next tip, and that is, how do you write and record a voiceover? Now I asked Dallin Wright to share with me a template of how he goes about writing real estate scripts, so check out the PDF file that is attached to this lecture to learn some insights on his workflow for scripting real estate videos. But as far as recording these scripts, the minimum microphone requirement that I would say is usable is the Blue Yeti with a pop filter that can cost around $100, but it plugs straight into your computer through USB, and then I would just use something like GarageBand as a simple software that can quickly record a quality voiceover and then export it out and bring it into your project file. Next question I get is, how do I sound design? For real estate, you could get away with no sound design at all, but to give your videos a little extra life, I usually like to throw in a sound effect of some birds chirping and some ambient background noise at the beginning and the ending of the edit, and some whoosh noises throughout to add a little bit of flair. And then of course I adjust those volumes 2 taste so that the sound effects don't overpower the music or voiceover. And if you want to learn more in depth about how to professionally mix your audio and beefing up your sound design, my buddy Brendo covers this topic in an upcoming video. Also, included with the sample real estate footage and project file, there's an outdoor ambient sound effect and my 20 slow motion whoosh sound effects that you can find in there that you can use to better transition between some of your faster moving transitions. And speaking of transitions, the next question I want to answer is, what are the best transitions to use for real estate videos? The short answer is clean cuts, meaning most of the cuts in my real estate videos are just normal cuts from one clip to another. I'll sometimes throw in one or two zoom transitions, either zooming in, zooming out, or a left to right swipe, but I only use those on clips that it naturally makes sense, like if I'm outside pushing into the house. But be careful with these fancy transitions. If you overdo them and use them too much, they can quickly become distracting and unprofessional. But I provided for you some smooth zoom transition presets for Premiere Pro that you can drag and drop onto your timeline to quickly and easily use, but please use them responsibly. Another transition I like to use in real estate videos is a speed ramp, which brings me to tip number 9, and that is, how do I effectively use speed ramps in real estate edits? A speed ramp can be done using the time remapping tool and essentially takes a clip from slow to fast and the next clip after that from fast to slow, thus wrapping the clips into each other, making them feel like the transition into each other is more smooth. Now, I have a full video in the Premiere Pro editing section of the course teaching this in depth, but basically you click on a clip, go to time remapping, create a keyframe where you want the ramp to begin, then drag up the other part of your clip to be fast, and you can check out the full in-depth editing video to see how I utilize this tool and when. But just know that speed ramping is an art form, so it will take some time to practice with it and learn how to do it more effectively, but hopefully that gives you a good base to work off of. Our last and final tip is, what is the best export settings for sending the final video to the client and for uploading to Instagram? Again, I cover all these export settings more in depth in the Premiere Pro editing section, but basically I export out at H.264 with the YouTube 1080p preset, making sure to scale to feel so that the final video is in the standard 16:9 aspect ratio if I've shot in 4K. And again, I export in 1080p even when I shoot in 4K because that is the standard, and I found that most of my real estate agents don't want to handle 4K files anyway. They're too big, hard to deal with, so they actually request 1080p for their final uses. And those are the same export settings I use for Instagram posts as well. So there you have my 10 tips to editing real estate videos. That should cover most of the basic questions for how to put together a professional real estate video. I'm sure you'll still have some lingering questions though, so I went ahead and recorded myself editing a real estate video from beginning to end so you could see the full process. So make sure to check that out. But that's it, guys. Hope this helped you up your real estate editing skills. If you have any further questions for me, please let me know.